Hey folks. The story told to us through Link's adventure in Ocarina of Time is an incredible tale that goes from a boy on a whimsical adventure to following a man on a quest to save the world. However, one aspect of this story that isn't well covered is its past. Dark and blood-stained events that took place prior to Link's adventure, a time frame only briefly mentioned in-game, leaving many questions and mysteries for us to ponder on. In today's video, I want to discuss the unexplored lore of Ocarina of Time's past. It's one of the most well-defined Zelda stories, and sometime later this year the tale will be told again. Ocarina of Time is due to be reborn on the Nintendo Switch 2 in a full-blown remake. We might see areas of the game and its story expanded upon. So let's chat about the years prior to the game taking place and what might be explored in the remake. Be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack and drink for the video, folks. Subscribe if you're new around here and drop a cheeky wee like down below. And let's dive into the mysterious past of the Legend of Zelda, Ocarina of Time. Whilst this area is quite unknown, we do learn a little bit of information directly through the game. After Link completes the Forest Temple and is teleported to the remains of the Great Deku Tree, the hero is greeted by the Deku Tree Sprout. He tells Link of his own origins and explains why the hero was so different to those he grew up around. Not long before the events of the game took place, there was a fierce conflict. Hyrule was war-torn. Not much is really known about the details of this conflict other than that this was a civil war, known as the Hyrulean Civil War. It was for the control of Hyrule and its regions. This wasn't against outside invaders from another land. This war was internal and between the different groups that make up modern-day Hyrule. The Deku Tree Sprout describes it as fierce. Countless lives were lost during this time. The reason Link ended up in the forest as a child is because in the midst of these battles, a Hylian mother fled with her baby boy into the darkness of the woods. Despite being badly injured, she managed to bring Link to the Great Deku Tree, who sensed greatness within the child and accepted him into their home. Link's mother, however, fell to her injuries. With the future hero in the divine protection of the forest, the fires of war burned across Hyrule until eventually the conflict would come to an end. Hyrule unified under one banner, and for a time, peace would find the kingdom. In short, we basically know that there was a war, it was violent, and that it concluded with Hyrule's unification. Outside of those very basic details, not much is known about this period of Hyrule, and it's entirely possible that the remake sheds more light on the past than the original game did. Perhaps through more information being included in the Deku Tree Sprout scene, but also more lore drops in general being included across the game. I'd love to know more about how long the Civil War actually lasted, and also how long before the game begins was it still taking place. There's no solid hints in the original game towards these questions. I tried searching the vast corners of the internet, but only to find mixed answers. There seems to be a belief that the war began around 10 years before the adventure kicked off. This could make sense if you think about Link being left in the care of the forest as a baby to then starting the game off as a young child. Around 10 years since the moment he was left here would line up roughly, but there's also nothing to indicate the war ended shortly after Link was left. It could have easily been years later, right up until the events of the game taking place. This could easily be explored through the likes of an old guard telling tales from Hyrule's past, or even just a newly added memorial plaque or something like that in the market or castle grounds dating the conflict and how long it lasted. Other unknown details that I'd love to see explored in the remake are the specifics of who was fighting who. Was it all corners of the kingdom against one another in a bloodshed free-for-all? Or did certain groups team up and form alliances? We know that the royal family of Hyrule and the Sheikah tribe have been closely tied throughout the history of Hyrule. The Sheikah act as protectors and servants to the royal family, and we know that they did work together during this conflict, but that's something we'll talk about later in the video. We're not warmed up enough to go into that just yet. As well as who fought alongside who, I'd find it incredibly fascinating if we learn more about the significant battles and events that took place throughout the Civil War. By the sounds of it, the conflict lasted several years. Throughout this time frame, there would have been a mix of smaller missions and assaults, as well as larger, widespread battles that should go down in history. In typical Zelda fashion, this part of their history has been lost, which is also something we'll touch on in regards to the Sheikah. Learning about the defining moments throughout the Civil War would be incredibly cool. I'm not super confident this would be explored in the remake though. I honestly think there's a better chance of there being the likes of a Hyrule Warriors game focused on the conflict, but that is purely an idea. I'd also be curious to see the population difference from when the war broke out to when it ended. It was said to be a fierce war, so it's safe to assume that countless lives from all corners of the kingdom dwindled. If any of these areas were to be explored in the remake, it'd likely be through an extra cutscene or information sign added into the game. I personally think it would benefit Ocarina of Time by fleshing out its own backstory without significantly changing anything about the game itself. Now that we're a little more warmed up into this topic, let's move over to Kakariko Village and put the magnifying glass on the Sheikah. The historical guardians of the royal family. In the time frame that Ocarina of Time takes place, it's sort of implied that the Sheikah race fell in numbers whilst protecting the royal family during the Civil War. The only living member we meet during the events of the game is Zelda's guardian Impa, the lone survivor of the Shadow Folk. Whilst on the surface they seem like your typical good guys, there's a dark past that's been blended into the shadows of Hyrule's history. We learn that during the Hyrulean Civil War, the game's 7th dungeon, the Shadow Temple, was used by the Sheikah to interrogate and torture enemies of the royal family. Looking inside, you can see blood staining the walls. Skeletal remains decorate the halls. There's torture devices designed to scare, damage, and even kill. The Sheikah and Hyrulean royal family are by no means good. War or no war, some of the evidence found inside here is flat out inhumane. The temple is designed for anyone who enters to never leave. There's bone-crushing traps, horrifying monsters, and even the likes of illusionary walls and hidden rooms to sink victims into the temple deeper. The horrors that took place here during the Civil War were so bad that it's become considered taboo for the royal family of Hyrule to even speak about it. Their acts during the war were so horrible, they've become ashamed to acknowledge their wrongdoing and take accountability. This part of Hyrule's recent history has been washed into the waves of time, hidden in the depths of the Shadow Temple. This is what I was hinting at earlier when talking about the duration of the conflict. Because of certain events being wiped from the record books, it's entirely possible that's a reason we know so little. The royal family of Hyrule chose to not tell a certain part of their history during this time frame. What's to say they haven't hid even more from us to protect themselves, possibly being a part of why we know so little about this time. It makes you wonder if who we're led to believe are the good guys are actually all that good. It's these questions that make the past of Ocarina of Time so intriguing to me. Imagine the likes of a modern title such as Breath of the Wild existing, but instead of learning the story of 100 years ago, we're told only 10% of it. That's how I feel about the Hyrulean Civil War and the events that took place during it in Ocarina of Time. I feel there's so much more to the lore here. Events of the conflict aside, there's another mystery lost in the past that I'd love to see touched on in the remake. Link's mother, and by natural association, his family, are complete mysteries we know nothing of. We're told by the Deku Tree Sprout that Link's mother escaped the Civil War to provide Link with a future. She passed away due to injuries sustained in the war, and that's all we know. We don't know where she and her family resided. It's likely to have been the Market Castle town, as that's where the majority of Hylians reside. We don't know who Link's father was, or if Link had any siblings in this time frame. We've seen in other entries of the series that Link has had family members, such as his sister, uncle, and grandmother be present. Hero shade. It's entirely possible he has a whole loving family around him, but due to the harsh nature of war, they were a family he'd never grow up with. It's likely that his father fought in the war. A fully grown and capable man would have been recruited or self-elected to fight for Hyrule, likely meeting his end here, along with many others. In Breath of the Wild, which takes place countless generations after Ocarina of Time, Link's father from over 100 years ago was confirmed to have been a Knight of Hyrule, as well as where Link is said to have gained his early combat abilities from. It's possible his father was a similar man in this time, but we just don't know. When the remake comes around, it'd be really cool if we got literally anything more on Link's family. I don't honestly think this will be explored further, as part of what makes it interesting is the mystery of who they were. And throughout the series, Link's family has kind of always been treated this way. I think at best, we may get some added visuals of a Hylian mother fleeing the war as the Deku Tree Sprout tells Link his backstory. Ocarina of Time's unknown past is something I'll be keeping a very keen eye out for in the remake. I'm anticipating the possibility of small, well-hidden details across the world which might expand this time frame. Zelda games are incredibly well known for their environmental storytelling and small secrets hinting at deeper lore. The Hyrulean Civil War period has far too much vague information to not explore it a little further. It might not have significant marks on the kingdom as we play through it, but there are lasting effects such as the towns not being fully mixed of the different races. You'll find the odd Goron out of town, but for the most part, the Hylian towns are just Hylians. Zora's domain is strictly Zora, Death Mountain is just Gorons, and the desert is just Gerudo. Any travel outside of their respective homes tends to be business. It's not like modern times seen in the Wilds era where towns are flourishing with diversity. This lack of diversity in this time frame is likely a result of the Civil War that took place not too long ago. The population as a whole would have taken a big hit as well. Hyrule was likely far more dense with civilization prior to the war. Again, something we can compare to Breath of the Wild's era. This mysterious past isn't talked about enough, and I hope in the remake we learn at least a little more about it. I'm not expecting much, but I'd certainly love to see something. Thanks a ton for watching, folks. If you enjoyed, then be sure to subscribe for plenty more fabulous Zelda content from myself. And if you could drop a cheeky wee like down below, that'd be highly appreciated. As always, a massive thank you goes to my channel backers across YouTube memberships and Patreon. Their generous additional support to the channel helps to make videos like this one all the more possible. All channel backers at any tier receive exclusive perks such as behind the scenes posts, updates, and the occasional exclusive vlog. If you'd be interested, then check out the supporting links in the description box. Also down there are links to my social pages, where you can keep up to date with my shenanigans and top tier Zelda opinions, as well as join the Discord server to chat to myself and many other lovely Zelda fans. Thanks again for watching, folks. I wish you a great rest of your day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.